Hi ladies. Today we're going to talk about how to keep a man in love with you. Let's be honest, making a man fall in love with you is only half the magic. The real challenge? Keeping that spark alive, making him want to stay, making him choose you, again and again, even when life gets messy or routine. There's no single trick, but there are powerful truths. Here are 10 ways to keep the fire of love burning so bright, he'll never want to look away from you. Be yourself, but the version of you that you adore. There's a massive difference between simply being yourself and consciously choosing to become the version of you that you deeply love. The first can be passive, a default setting, shaped by past wounds, limiting beliefs, or habits you've outgrown. But the second is intentional. It's an act of creation. It's asking yourself, who do I feel most alive as? What kind of woman makes me proud to be me? When you live in alignment with that version, the one who wakes up with purpose, who says no without guilt, who dresses in a way that makes her feel stunning, who dances in her kitchen just because the world shifts around you. A man notices when a woman is in love with her life. It's not the makeup, not the outfit, not even the words you say. It's the way your energy hits the room before you speak. It's the way you hold eye contact without shrinking. It's the way you don't chase or convince, but instead invite people to join you in your self-respecting, joy-filled space. And that's magnetic. That makes him lean in, wanting to know more, to be near your fire. He doesn't feel like your source of happiness, he feels like he's lucky to witness it. Loving yourself doesn't mean you never feel insecure. It means you've made peace with those insecurities, you've stopped punishing yourself for being human. You know your value, even on hard days. And that grounded confidence teaches a man how to treat you. It sets the tone. You stop tolerating crumbs. You stop overgiving. You stop contorting. And without you even trying, he wants to rise to your level, to impress you, to be chosen by you, not just the other way around. When you are the woman you admire, you don't fear losing love, because you are love. He won't just fall for you, he'll stay fascinated. You become unforgettable, not because you're perfect, but because you're real and you glow. And most importantly, because you know you're enough, with or without him. Keep a little mystery. Mystery isn't about manipulation, it's about maintaining a sense of depth, an emotional richness that isn't handed over on the first date, or even the 10th. When you meet someone you're attracted to, it's natural to want to connect as fast as possible. You might overshare, thinking vulnerability equals intimacy. But true intimacy isn't rushed. It's built, and a little mystery gives your relationship room to breathe, to grow organically, and to remain endlessly intriguing. When a man feels like he's figured everything out about you, it's like finishing a book too quickly. Even if it's a great story, there's nowhere else to go. But when you reveal yourself in layers, not by hiding, but by choosing when and how much to share, you create a rhythm that keeps him leaning forward. He starts wondering what you'll say next, what you're thinking in silence, what memory made your eyes glaze over for a second. It's in the pause, it's in the subtle, and it makes him stay present with you. Mystery also speaks to your emotional independence. When you don't hand him the blueprint to your entire identity, it shows that you don't need validation. You're offering connection, not seeking approval. You have stories he hasn't earned yet. You have dreams that aren't for public display. You have thoughts that belong only to you. And he respects that. It makes him want to deserve access to your world. Don't mistake mystery for coldness or distance. You can still be warm, engaging, affectionate, but with a sense of inner boundaries. You're not performing. You're not trying to keep his interest through artificial tension. You're simply living from a place of quiet confidence that says, there's more to me than you can see right now, and if you're lucky, you'll get to find out. That makes you unforgettable. It turns every moment into discovery. And it keeps the chemistry alive, not just in the beginning, but for years to come. Make him feel like your hero. There's a part of nearly every man, no matter how modern, how emotionally intelligent, how progressive, that still craves one simple thing: to feel like a hero in the eyes of the woman he loves. Not a superhero, not someone who saves the world, but someone who matters. Someone who has purpose, who is valued, who is capable of showing up and making your life better in ways both big and small. And here's what most people miss. Being a hero doesn't mean he has to do everything. It doesn't mean you become helpless or pretend to be incapable. It means you let him in. You allow him to protect, to provide, to solve, not because you can't do it alone, but because letting someone help is a form of intimacy. Men often connect through action. They bond through doing, and when you acknowledge and appreciate those efforts, it reinforces his sense of value. Let him lift the heavy things. Let him fix the faucet. Let him walk you to your car or double-check that the door's locked at night. Let him help you when your day is too much. Not because you need him to survive, but because love isn't about independence or dependence, it's about interdependence. Say thank you, sincerely, often, and out loud. Brag about him to your friends. Notice the small things he does and tell him they matter. Men often hear what they do wrong more than what they do right. Flip that. Make him feel like he's winning in your world. Not out of ego stroking, but because he is winning. When he shows up for you, when he tries, when he brings his heart in quiet, masculine ways. The truth is, when a man feels like he can be your hero, he doesn't need to chase glory elsewhere. He stops looking for approval in other women, other successes, or even distractions. He's already found the role he values most, being your man. And when you see him in that light, you give him something rarer than love. You give him honor, and that's what makes him stay. Give him space, but be deeply present. This is one of the most nuanced, emotionally intelligent forms of love you can offer. The ability to give your man space without disconnecting. Most relationships get this wrong on one extreme or the other. Either you become too available, constantly checking in, over-involving yourself in his every thought, or you pull back too far, trying to protect your own independence and accidentally creating emotional distance. Neither works. What works is trust. What works is attunement. It's reading the energy of your relationship and not panicking when he needs a little time to himself, a night alone, a day to process, an hour to recharge after work. It's understanding that his need for solitude isn't a reflection of how he feels about you. It's about how he's managing his own emotions, stress, or identity. The most magnetic women are the ones who can say, "I'm here when you're ready," and actually mean it. No passive-aggressive comments, no guilt trips, no subtle punishments, just emotional maturity, the kind that makes him feel safe being fully himself. But giving space doesn't mean vanishing or withholding your own presence. While he has his moments of solitude, you remain a consistent, warm force in the background. You don't withdraw love, you just don't force connection. You focus on your own life, your own passions, your own joy. And when he returns, he finds you grounded and glowing, not resentful and waiting with folded arms. Here's the paradox. When a man feels free with you, he stays close. He doesn't want to run. He wants to come home, not just physically, but emotionally. Because you're the woman who didn't try to control him. You trusted him. You respected his process. You let him breathe, and because of that, he wants to breathe with you. Being deeply present means you're tuned in, available, engaged, but not desperate, not anxious, not chasing. You're a steady flame, not a wildfire. And that kind of presence, combined with that kind of space, that's rare, that's unforgettable, that's what keeps love alive. Grow, evolve, surprise him. Men don't fall in love with predictability, they fall in love with aliveness. With the feeling that life with you will never go stagnant. That there's always something new around the corner, not because you're changing for him, but because you're evolving for you. Growth is magnetic. It signals passion, energy, curiosity, and that creates a pulse in the relationship that keeps it from going numb. When you pick up a new interest, learning a language, taking a dance class, diving into a new book, launching a side project, he feels it. He doesn't have to understand the thing itself, he feels the spark it lights in you. And that spark, that fresh energy, makes him feel like he's rediscovering you again. It's what keeps relationships alive. Not a new partner, but a partner who's always unfolding. Think of your own favorite people, the ones you can't stop watching, even after years. They surprise you, they shift, they make you wonder, what's she into now? That's the energy of attraction. That's what makes you a woman worth chasing long after the initial romance has settled. Evolving doesn't mean you're never content. It means you're deeply in tune with your desires, your goals, your next chapter, and you don't apologize for outgrowing old versions of yourself. You don't stay stuck in the role he first met you in. You become someone even more layered, more self-assured, more lit up. And when you invite him into that journey, when you say, "Wanna come with me to this random class?" Or, "I just started writing again, want to read something?" You create shared growth. You give him a front row seat to your brilliance. And here's the secret. When a man sees you constantly becoming, he never feels like he's figured you out. He stays curious, he stays inspired, and he falls in love with you all over again, not because you changed for him, but because you changed with life. Keep it light, laugh together, be playful. Romance doesn't die because the love fades, it dies because it gets too heavy, too serious, too routine. But when you infuse lightness into your relationship, it breathes, it lifts, it creates a space where love isn't just a feeling, but a joyful experience. Laughter is one of the most intimate forms of connection. It's a shared language, a rhythm, a sense of, we get each other. And it's not just about cracking jokes, it's about the way you tease him with a wink, the goofy things you do in the kitchen, the silly inside jokes that make you both laugh until your stomach hurts. It's about not taking yourself too seriously. It's letting your guard down. It's reminding each other that even on hard days, joy is still available. When you're playful, you create memories that last longer than any candlelit dinner. You become that woman, the one he wants to come home to, not just because she's beautiful or smart or kind, but because she makes life fun. You remind him that love can still feel like summer, like youth, like freedom. Being playful doesn't mean you avoid deep conversations or ignore real issues. It means you know how to shift energy when it gets too heavy. You know how to read the room, to know when he needs a pep talk and when he just needs a dance party in the living room. You know how to flirt, not just in the bedroom, but in everyday moments. And don't underestimate the power of being goofy. When you can let go of looking cool and just let your weird out, he sees the most real, unfiltered version of you. That's irresistible, that's rare, that's unforgettable. Playfulness is not the opposite of depth. It is depth, the kind that says, even in this wild, complicated world, I choose to make this moment lighter for both of us. And that kind of light, that's the one he'll always chase. Don't forget the physical connection. Physical connection isn't just something that happens between the sheets, it's a language all its own. It speaks louder than words when emotions are too big to name. It's in the way your hand finds his in a crowded room, the way you touch his chest when you laugh, the way your body leans into his without even thinking. These seemingly small moments are what create a rhythm between you. They build trust, intimacy, and safety without a single conversation. Sex is important, but so are the dozens of physical cues that happen outside the bedroom. The playful brush of your foot under the dinner table. The way you fix his collar or run your fingers through his hair. Physical closeness tells him he's wanted, chosen, desired, not just for what he does, but for who he is. And the truth is, even long-term relationships that start off passionately can lose that spark when routine takes over. Life gets busy, you get tired, you get comfortable, and not always in a good way. But when you prioritize physical touch, when you actively choose closeness, you keep that sense of romantic tension alive. It says, I still see you. I still want you. Let intimacy be both spontaneous and intentional. Surprise him with kisses that don't lead anywhere. Hug him longer than usual. Whisper something cheeky in his ear just because you can. And when it comes to your sex life, talk about it. Be open, be curious. What feels good? What have you always wanted to try? What does closeness mean to him right now, at this phase in his life? Most importantly, let intimacy reflect who you are as a couple. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's version of sexy or romantic. Maybe for you, it's slow and soulful. Maybe it's playful and wild. Maybe it's quiet, soft, and sacred. The point isn't to perform. It's to connect, body to body, heart to heart, soul to soul. When you nourish your physical connection, you're reminding him that love is not just something you say, it's something you feel. It's felt in your fingertips, in your breath, in the way your bodies find each other even in the dark. And when that kind of touch is present, he won't just feel turned on, he'll feel chosen. He'll feel home. Respect his emotions and his silence. Men are often taught to be strong, to keep it together, to be the steady one, and while that pressure can make them appear emotionally distant, the truth is, they feel deeply. But they express it differently. While women might process emotions by talking, many men process them by retreating, by going inward, by getting quiet. And if you don't understand this, it's easy to take that silence personally. But here's the reality. Silence isn't always a rejection, sometimes it's survival. When he pulls back, it doesn't mean he's stopped loving you. It often means he's overwhelmed, confused, or simply trying to organize a feeling he doesn't have words for yet. And when you try to force a conversation or demand immediate connection, it can push him even further away, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels emotionally unsafe. The most powerful gift you can give a man is the space to be. To process without pressure, to sit in his silence without feeling like he's letting you down. When you trust his internal rhythm, when you stay steady in your own energy, rather than reacting to his, you become a sanctuary. He doesn't have to pretend. He doesn't have to perform. He can just be human. That doesn't mean you become passive or emotionally invisible. You can still let him know you're there. A simple, "Take your time. I'm here when you're ready," holds more love than 1,000 frantic texts. You create a space that says, "You don't have to be perfect for me. I respect your process." And when he feels that, he opens up on his own terms. Not because he's pressured, but because he's safe. He'll come to you with more honesty, more vulnerability, more trust. The man who doesn't have to defend his silence becomes the man who eventually shares his heart. Emotional respect isn't about saying the right thing. It's about knowing when not to say anything at all. It's about holding the pause without fear. About believing that stillness doesn't mean distance, it means depth. When you master this balance, you don't just support your man, you invite him into deeper intimacy. And he'll never forget the woman who saw his silence not as a threat, but as a truth worth honoring. Don't turn the relationship into a project. There's a dangerous line many women cross without realizing it, the moment when a loving connection starts to feel like a task list. You begin to monitor every detail, how often he texts, how much effort he's putting in, whether the vibe feels off, and if it does, how you can fix it. It's easy to fall into this mindset, especially if you're someone who likes to improve, organize, and plan. But love is not a strategy. A relationship is not a startup you're trying to scale. It's not a performance review. It's not a home renovation where you're constantly trying to upgrade the other person or the dynamic. When you treat your relationship like a project, it becomes heavy. You stop feeling and start managing. You analyze every word he says, every behavior, and begin to interpret silence or distance as problems to be solved. But people aren't puzzles. They're living, breathing, evolving beings, and the moment love becomes a job, it starts to lose its soul. The most magnetic relationships happen when you're in them, not on top of them. When you allow moments to unfold naturally instead of trying to orchestrate the perfect experience. When you trust that not every silence is a signal, not every misstep is a crisis, and not every emotion needs to be fixed. Some things just need to be felt. Let go of perfection. Stop measuring progress like you're checking off milestones. Not every conversation has to be productive. Not every moment has to be meaningful. Sometimes, the most important thing you can do is sit beside your partner without trying to change a single thing. Just breathe, just be, just love. This doesn't mean you should ignore issues or silence your needs. It means you release the compulsion to constantly optimize. Love is not a linear process. It's messy. It loops, it stumbles, it grows in seasons. When you stop managing the relationship and start experiencing it, you come back to the reason you fell in love in the first place. To feel, not to fix. He doesn't want a manager. He wants a partner. Someone who feels like home, not a constant performance review. And the moment you let go of being in charge, you make room for something far deeper: intimacy, trust, and true emotional presence. That's what lasts. Love yourself, deeply, wildly, and without apology. This isn't just a Pinterest quote or a self-help slogan, it's the foundation of everything. A woman who truly loves herself isn't waiting for someone else to show her her worth. She already knows it. She walks into the room with the quiet confidence of someone who has chosen herself, in all her beauty, her flaws, her brilliance, her shadows. And that kind of self-love, it's magnetic, it's breathtaking, it's untouchable. When you love yourself deeply, you don't chase. You don't beg for crumbs. You don't twist yourself into versions that fit someone else's comfort zone. You stand rooted. You know that love is a gift, not a negotiation. And when a man sees a woman who loves herself that completely, he rises. Not because you ask him to, but because you inspire him to. Loving yourself means setting boundaries with grace, not guilt. It means walking away from what drains you, not because you're bitter, but because your energy is sacred. It means speaking your truth, gently, clearly, unapologetically, even when your voice shakes. It means nurturing your own needs, desires, dreams, and not waiting for someone else to give you permission to pursue them. You glow differently when you know you're enough. You laugh more freely. You give more generously. You receive more openly. You don't demand love. You attract it, naturally, effortlessly, without performance. And yes, this level of self-love takes work. It's not always loud or glamorous. Sometimes it looks like leaving the wrong room. Sometimes it's crying on your kitchen floor because you chose yourself again, even when it hurt. But that choice, over and over, builds a woman no one can dim. The truth is, the man who's meant for you doesn't complete you, he joins you. He walks beside you, not above or below. And the more you love yourself, the more clearly you'll see who deserves to walk with you. So don't shrink, don't second-guess your glow. Be the woman who honors herself first, who doesn't need to be loved to feel lovable. Be her, and love won't be something you chase. It'll be something that chases you. Here's the thing. You were never meant to hold onto a man with grasping hands, fear in your chest, and anxiety in your throat. That's not love, that's survival mode dressed in romance. And you were built for more than survival. You were built to inspire. To awaken something in him that doesn't come from control, or pressure, or proving your worth, but from presence, energy, and the effortless way you become love itself. You're not here to convince a man to stay. That's not your job. You're not here to chase, to beg, to negotiate your value in the language of overgiving. When you try to keep a man, you step out of your power. You begin to operate from fear, and love cannot breathe in fear. Real, lasting connection comes not from holding tighter, but from embodying something so rich, so full, so alive that he wants to stay. That he chooses to stay. Because here's the truth. Love isn't something you earn. It's something you become. It's in the way you walk into a room without needing to be chosen to feel valuable. It's in the way you speak from your heart, not to manipulate but to express. It's in your laugh, in your softness, in your fire, in your freedom. Love is in your boundaries, in your joy, in your silence. When you become love, not just say the right things or act the right way, but live it, breathe it, embody it, you change the dynamic completely. You stop reacting, you start attracting, and you don't just attract a man, you attract the right man. The one who doesn't need convincing, chasing, or constant explanation. The one who meets your depth, not your desperation. He'll stay because it feels right to stay. Because you don't make love feel like work, or pressure, or an emotional obligation. You make it feel like home, like possibility, like he can be more of himself next to you, not less. And that's what every man is secretly searching for. So no, you don't need to hold on to him. You need to return to yourself. Every time you worry about where he stands, come back to your center. Every time you feel the urge to fix, chase, or prove, pause and ask, am I embodying the love I want to receive? Because when you are, when you're living with connection, playfulness, softness, and unapologetic depth, he'll feel it in his bones. He won't just love you. He'll fall for you, over and over again. And if this stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, with a sister, with someone who's forgotten her own magic. And most of all, remember this: the woman who chooses herself, again and again, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, will always be the woman worth choosing. Because she doesn't just find love, she becomes it.